Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku had a living nightmare part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story 𝗧𝗵𝗲 from Wattpad. So let's start the video. RD person POV. The day had started rather early for the 𝗵𝗃𝗲 house. The day was Saturday, so that meant a morning of classic cartoons for young Izuku 𝗵𝗃𝗲. He. Izuku watched while snickering a bit at a mouse hitting a cat's foot with a giant mallet to make his eyes pop out of his head. Breakfast is almost ready, Izuku. His mother 𝗵𝗃𝗲 came into the room to notice her son strangely covered in ink. Izuku, how did you get all that ink on you? Izuku looked down to notice himself covered with ink head to foot. What happened? 𝗵𝗃𝗲 grabbed a rag to pull some of the ink off his face. Were you playing with pens, sweetie? No, Mom. I don't know why I have ink on me either. The two looked at the ink as it seemed to be seeping out of Izuku's hands. His mother sighed before beginning to go for another rag. Keep this rag on your one hand and I'll grab a second for your other. She walked into the kitchen to grab one from a drawer to return to Izuku. When she did, she saw a second rag in his hands. Where did you get the second rag? I don't know. I just thought of it and it was in my hand. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 went to touch the rag before it turned to ink. I wonder. Izuku, can you think of a rag again? The young boy did as his mother asked for a blob of ink to form in his hand before it took the shape of the object he was thinking of with color coming after. Wow. I just thought of it and it's in my hands. I think we need to make a trip to the doctor, Izuku. Yeah, that sounds right to do. The two looked around, hearing an unknown voice. Who said that? The ink on Izuku's body pulled away from Izuku to take a shape of what looked like a cartoon character brought to life. Who said that? The ink on Izuku's body pulled away from Izuku to take a shape of what looked like a cartoon character brought to life. 34. I did. Bitch. Both panicked before jumping away from the demon-looking ink creature. Relax. I ain't gonna hurt ya. The name's Bendy and I'm a figment of Izuku's imagination that came to life with his quirk. Izuku began remembering an old imaginary friend he had that resembled Bendy. So the people I make in my head can come to life. Sorta. As far as I know, you can't make a living person and folks like me think and act the way you tell us to. As far as you know. Yeah, ma'am, I only know what Izuku knows about the quirk so far. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 began to go into the kitchen before making a call for an appointment with the quirk doctor. Thankfully, their doctor could fit them in that day for them to have enough time to eat breakfast and take a little time to get ready. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 finished the call to come into the room to find two other cartoon-looking characters that looked like a woman with horns and a halo and a wolf with trousers on. Something tells me that this may be a common occurrence in my house from now on. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 was a little worried since very little was known of Izuku's quirk at the moment, but didn't put much thought in it since he seemed to be happy at the moment. A few hours later at the doctor's office. Well, Mrs. 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗏, it seems your son has quite the unique quirk. A doctor spoke to the mother and son while reading the results of what he found. Seems your son's quirk is called ink maker. A quirk that allows him to secrete ink as if it was a natural product in his body that can also take the shape of whatever the user wishes. The drawback is that only he can touch these items unless it is something he willingly allows someone to touch. So all he needs to do is think of what he wants, and the ink will create it. For the most part, but it's still ink no matter what he makes. He shouldn't think this is a way to make food or money since it won't work properly in that factor. Ah man. So I can't make an endless supply of 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗏. The adults laughed at Izuku's sadness, knowing he won't have the ability to eat his favorite meal for every meal before the doctor continued. Another rather unique factor of this quirk is that he can even create sentient beings able to think and act on their own to some extent. I think we've already discovered that. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 mentions as Bendy shows up out of a blob of ink pulling his bow tie in pride. So I see. Now this is also something you should be extremely cautious of, young man. Though they can think and act on their own, these beings are still connected to you in a sense. Whatever emotion you feel will pour into them and their form can change depending on what emotion you feel. You must be extremely careful if you hold some form of grief, sadness, or hatred. These emotions could change the beings you create from a happy dream such as this one, to a horrid nightmare. Relax, Doc. Nothing's gonna happen while I'm here. So long as I can help it, Izuku's life's gonna be smooth sailing. Bendy points this out for the doctor to allow the family to leave. On the way back, Inko allows Izuku to head over to the park near their home to play while she starts doing some housework. He's led to the destination by Bendy before they see a familiar face and get an idea on how to showcase the young boy's quirk. Izuku POV. I began running on the playground over to my friend Katsumi Bakugu, or Kacchan, as I call her, to tell her the good news. Kacchan, I got my quirk today. She saw me run over to give a smile. That's awesome. What is it? It's called Ink Maker. I can make things out of ink. Cool, can you show me it? I can do better than that since I've got someone I want you to meet. I held my hands together while clearing my throat, presenting the dancing demon himself. The one. The only. Bendy. I threw the ink out for it to fall to the ground and make Bendy. How you doing, everybody? Boris and Alice came out behind me while I made a small sound box for them to use. Gee, it's great to be out dash, laughter. It's great to be out here dash, laughter. It's great to be dash, laughter, shesh. Who's working the laugh box? A monkey. I couldn't help but laugh as Kacchan looked over to see Boris behind me. Wolf to be exact. Oh. You can make cartoons out of your quirk. Yup. We began introductions for the trio to hang together while introducing themselves. The name's Bendy Katsumi. Nice to finally meet ya. My name is Alice Angel, but you can just call me Alice. And I'm Boris. Glad to meet ya. Kacchan walked up to all of them to smile. Nice to meet you too. My name's Katsumi Bakugu. She gave her hand out to have everyone shake it before Bendy put his arm around her. So you're Izuku's good friend. I was able to find out a lot about you in his head. So you know what he knows. It's hard to explain, but my knowledge is as vast as Izuku's is. If he knows something, there's a good chance we know it as well. Alice came over to me to whisper something we could do as a game for me to smile. Hey Kacchan, I got an idea for something we could do. Oh really, what is it? I began to make some ink before throwing it on her feet. Now that's just mean Deku. Wait for it. The ink began to form into tap dancing shoes with me making the same for my feet. Boris, if you would be so kind. Rightio. He started playing a few tunes for Bendy to start. Alright, first we do a little like this. He began tapping a bit for us to do the same. Then we do a little of this. He did a few more steps for us to repeat. Now you do a swing. Come on Bendy, do the whole dang thing. Started laughing a bit while continuing our little games with Boris playing his instrument and Alice singing a bit for us. If all my days were like this, I wouldn't mind anything so long as I had all four of my friends with me. Few hours later, Katsumi POV. After a little bit of time playing around with Deku and his ink friends, we started heading back for some lunch at his place. When we got to the door, it was kinda open for some reason. I'm home. We walked in with all the lights off to almost make the place look kinda creepy. I brought Kacchan with me. This is weird. We started to enter the kitchen to see someone going through a bunch of drawers. Mom. The man stopped to look at us almost as if he was afraid. Mom. I glanced down to see Aunt Inko on the floor in a pool of something dark-colored. She wasn't moving and scared me for some reason. Where's the money? The man began charging at us for Boris to get in front. A knife came through him to scare both me and Deku. Wait, is that BLD on that? Oh no. Please don't tell me that Aunt Inko is. I started to hear Deku breathe and see something black come out of him. His breathing was very loud with a very loud scream coming after. Ah! The black stuff coming out of him went into Bendy, Alice, and Boris for them to start shaking. What's happening? Izuku. They began to change with their bodies growing or looking like someone messed with them until the only thing that made them look as if they were what they were before was the image I had in my head of what the cute and harmless things before whatever happened happened. What's happened? Izuku. They began to change with their bodies growing or looking like someone messed with them until the only thing that made them look as if they were what they were before was the image I had in my head of what the cute, what are these freaks dash. The guy was cut off by the thing that was Bendy cutting his stomach with his hand. What are these freaks dash. The guy was cut off by the thing that was Bendy cutting his stomach with his hand. He spit up BLD before falling to his knees and his guts coming out. Bendy started ripping bones out. Alice tore his guts out to rip them apart, and Boris began ripping his arms and legs off. I was afraid of what I was seeing, but couldn't turn away. Stop it. I turned to see Deku shaking in fear. Stop it. The three turned to him with BLD all over them, almost like they were eating the guy. Don't ever come back out. As if by magic, the three turned into ink again, leaving what was left of the guy on the ground. Deku ran to 𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗀 to show a hole in her chest and a dead stare. Everything that happened was so fast that I couldn't understand any of it. First, the friends we had played with turned into those things. Now 𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗀 is gone and the man who did it looked like he went into a shredder or something. What just happened? Few months later, after 𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗀's death, Mom and Dad decided to take care of Deku to try and help him. They said that this was the only way to keep him from going into an orphanage with him, making no exact complaint about it. Since the accident, Deku's been very to himself to the point I can barely get him to say a word. Not only that, but I haven't seen Bendy or any of Deku's friends since the accident. Mom asked me what happened along with the police since Deku refused to say a word. I didn't know what to say, so I just kept asking them to not punish Deku for something that wasn't his or his quirk's fault. Since the guy was in the shape he was in, they couldn't exactly prove either one of us did what we did to let us go. Unfortunately, people started to bully Deku cause of them finding out his quirk did something evil. I try to help whatever way I can, but there's just so much I can do. One night walking back to my bedroom after brushing my teeth, I peeked into Deku's room to see someone over him. I'm sorry Izuku. I didn't mean to hurt ya. I pushed the door a bit more for the person to freak a bit. I noticed it was Bendy for him to see it was me as well. Oh Katsumi. You gave me a scare there. Sorry. I walked in to see him try to pat Deku while he was crying in his sleep. We screwed up back there. What happened? Bendy looked at me with tears of ink coming out of his eyes. The doc said we were connected to Izuku's emotions. The amount of fear, grief, and anger Izuku felt back then was just so much that we changed. We didn't want anything to hurt Izuku and try to help him. But in the end, we hurt you and him in ways we can never fix. Now Izuku won't let us out of his head willingly for us to only be able to help from the outside in his sleep. He began blowing his nose in a tissue he had in his hands. I'm sorry. I should have done something back then. Everyone says my quirk is amazing, but I was useless back then. I could have helped, but I didn't. Some future hero I am. I can't even help my friend who's hurting right now. It ain't your fault, Katsumi. These things happen. Bendy held my hand while patting it. Unfortunately, we're where we are and Izuku needs both of us now more than ever. I know, Sai, I just wish I knew just how to help him and get you guys to come out again for him to smile. Right now, Deku even refuses to use his quirk in general and it's starting to worry me. In that moment, a light bulb was shown on the top of Bendy's head. Maybe there is. He pulled his bow tie off for another to appear to take its place. If I find any way to help Izuku from the inside, I'll tell you as long as you have this bow tie on you. It'll allow me to communicate to you without the need to be out here. I took the bow tie and thanked Bendy. Thanks. What are pals for? I'm gonna go back inside. For now, just be there for him like you already are. You have no idea how much that helps Izuku right now. Bendy turned into ink and went into Izuku for me to walk out and shut the door. When I got to my room, I looked in the mirror to place the bow tie in my hair and look at myself in it. I look like a sissy. To be honest, I hated having girly things on me. Just accept it, Katsumi. This is for Deku. I started to turn off the lights before heading to bed. Just like what Bendy said, just be there for him and let him know he's not alone. It doesn't feel like much, but it means something to Izuku. I started to pull my blankets over me and shut my eyes. Age 14 Katsumi POV. Oi Deku, time to get up. The morning started rather normal for me with getting Deku up. Deku, get up. Since the whole ordeal when we were kids, I've kinda taken care of him in ways I could to the point I feel more like a sister to him in his eyes. Unfortunately, that isn't a two-way streak. Answer me, damn it. I kicked open the door before going completely red. Sorry. I was trying to hurry. In front of me, Deku was pantsless without a shirt. I turned directly around before shouting at him. Next time answer me so I don't have 𝗳𝗏𝗄𝗃 shouldn't, damn it. Sorry. I shut his door before walking downstairs trying to compose myself. Just relax, Katsumi. It's just Deku. He's a close family friend. That's it. Nothing more than a friend. Since Deku wouldn't use his quirk, I took it upon myself to train with him in order for us both to stay in good shape to become heroes. Where I became toned, Deku gained bulk and definition to his muscles. One day while training, I was able to get a good look at his body to find rock hard abs on him that I could grate boulders on. Sup, hag? I greeted my mother while walking into the kitchen before getting a punch to the get. Don't call me a hag, ya brat. Don't call me a brat, ya hag. We started our normal routine of yelling at one another. It eventually stopped when she hit me upside the head again. Anyway, did you get Izuku up? Yeah, I got him up. I also had quite the image put in my head while doing that. The hag gave me mine and Deku's breakfast to place on the table next to my old man. So, when are you gonna confess to Izuku? The hag questioned this for me to go red. What makes you think it's that? He's just a friend and nothing else. Oh, come on, Katsumi, all of us know you like him and I'm amazed Izuku hasn't figured it out yet. To be honest, you better confess to him soon or he may just find someone else. Like I care who he dates. I turned my head to the side trying to hide a blush. I didn't like to admit it, but I kinda have noticed Deku a bit more lately. It's not like that. Then again, I could do worse. Time skip to school, Izuku POV. Alright class, you're all third years now. That means I need you all to fill out career papers. Our teacher came into the classroom today holding a giant stack of papers. Once he got to the podium, however, he threw them into the air. But who am I kidding, you all want to become heroes. Everyone cheered while using their quirk except for me and Kacchin. Now, I know you all have amazing quirks, but it's against the rules to use your quirks on school grounds. You all wouldn't even make a decent hero's sidekick, let alone a good enough pro as is. Kacchin was a little irritated with everyone as she let herself be heard. What do you know, Bakugo? Yeah. Just cause you have a good quirk doesn't mean jack. She glanced at them while scowling. I know I've got a better chance than all of you. Oh right, Bakugo is aiming for you, eh? The teacher pointed this out for everyone to remain silent. The thought of a school with a 3% entrance rate was something they couldn't even consider as holding a shot. Well, that stopped them. Oh yeah, Midoriya also is aiming for you, eh? A silence was in the room before everyone laughed. Midoriya. He's smart, but he can't even use his quirk. What a loser. He'll die in those exams before he could even be a dash. If any of you say one more F word, I'm gonna make your faces as F up as your mouths are. Kacchin jumped on the desk, creating small explosions in her hands. Let's get this straight, SHT rags. Even without a quirk, Deku can wipe the floor with any of you. If you think you can, then let's see who the F wants to take a crack at him. Everyone remained silent as the last person who fought with me ended up with a broken arm and a few cracked ribs. Way to instill the fear of pain in them, Kacchin. After school we began heading out with some goons trying to pick a fight with me. Hey Midoriya, you think you're so tough cause you've got Bakugo as your guard dog. I bet you couldn't even land a punch. The two aiming for a fight were sick the day I fought the person and didn't notice what I could do. I bet that was all Katsumi while you cried in a corner like the little baby you are. Yeah, does the baby miss his mommy? They started laughing with nothing but blind rage coming at me. You shouldn't have done that, dipshits. The other guy made fun of his mother and he got away easy. Oh come on, the loser couldn't even land a punch. I bet his mother was tired of taking care of him that she welcomed getting stabbed. I was in a blind rage at that moment to haul back and punch one guy in the face. He went flying back into the wall with my fists indent in his face and a few teeth missing. You want to keep talking? I turned to the other guy who prepared to attack me with his quirk. I ducked under before kneeing him in the gut and elbowing the center of his back for him to fall onto the floor. I began walking out of the room with Katsumi behind me. Warned you. Nobody insults Aunt Inko in front of Deku and gets away with it. We walked out of the school to head to a nearby flower shop. There, I looked back at Katsumi with my BLD finally calm enough. I'm gonna go see my mother. If Aunt Mitsuki asks, tell her I'll be a little late today coming home. All right. We parted for me to pick up a small bouquet before walking in the direction of the cemetery. Once there, I began walking towards a gravestone for Mom. Hey Mom. Sorry I haven't been around in a while. I placed the flowers on her marker and pulled the dead ones. In 10 months, I'll be taking the entrance exams for UA. They're pretty big and I'm working as hard as I can with Katsumi. I smiled before taking a deep sigh and giving a frown. Still can't rack up the courage to use my quirk. Ever since that incident, I've refused. Everyone calls me weak for it and other things, but I'm just afraid. I'm scared that the next time I use it, someone's going to die like before. I held myself remembering that horrid nightmare as if it was yesterday. I'm sorry Mom. I just can't put forth the courage to. I found myself crying a bit before having to get up and leave. It was nice seeing you again. I walked away with the dead flowers to deposit them in a garbage before heading back home. Meanwhile, Katsumi POV, since Deku wasn't around, I decided to hang out a little around town. I started checking out some stores to see what they had for protein bars or arm braces for me. Eventually, I found myself near a clothes shop where I get some stuff in. I wonder if they've got anything worth looking into. I walk in to go straight to some of the stuff that I pick out. Skull that's bedazzled, few muscle shirts I've already got, cheap but jewelry. I kept looking until some chicks behind me wearing mine and Deku's school uniform was behind me. I can't believe Midoriya's trying for you. What a loser. He'll never get as far as everyone else. He should just quit while he's ahead. They started laughing for me to get disgusted with them. Guess I'm not buying anything. I put what I had away before heading to the door. What a bunch of assholes. RD person POV. While walking under a bridge, Izuku had let out a deep sigh to himself. The words of the other students never really got to him so much, but today was different. He knew that he had to do something in order to get over his trauma of using his quirk. But in his mind, he can only see the nightmare that he witnessed as a child whenever he thought of it. There has to be a way to help get over this. While in thought, Izuku didn't hear a sludge monster come behind him. Well, this is my lucky day. I'll be taking your body, kid. Gotta hide from that man. Izuku slowly turned around to see a villain made entirely of sludge attack him. He was able to dodge the first attempt, but the second grab got him. Thanks kid, you're a lifesaver. The sludge villain began suffocating Izuku with the lack of oxygen giving him immense pain. Eventually, he started to black out with a strange image being seen attack the villain. Who the heck are yo dash? A taller version of Bendy was shown splattering the villain on the wall before turning back to Fun's to check on Izuku. You okay, pal? Bendy checked to make sure his friend was alright to see he was just unconscious from the lack of air. That's a relief. The sound of a manhole being sent flying spooked Bendy as he jumped up and prepared for what was next. Have no fear, for I am here. In front of Bendy and the unconscious Izuku was the #1 pro hero himself. In front of Bendy and the unconscious Izuku was the #1 pro hero himself. Holy Toledo. It's All Might. Bendy started frantically brushing his head and straightening his bow tie to try and keep a refined look on him. Hello Mr. Might sir. My name is Bendy and this is my creator Izuku. Creator? Why? I'm Izuku's quirk and I only came out to protect him from that thing attacking him. He pointed to the sludge villain on the wall that was now only a splatter. I see. Nicely done young Bendy. I was actually trying to find this one, but the tunnels around this city are quite difficult to maneuver. I could understand. Would you like a little help with the cleanup, sir? It's the least I can do after making him go splat. Why thank you. Bendy created a small vacuum out of some of the ink he was made of and attached an old soda bottle to it. This made cleanup very easy with the pro grabbing the wayward pieces to be sucked up. Once it was done, Bendy closed the cap on the bottle and gave it to All Might. By any chance, sir, Bendy grabbed Izuku's hero analysis journal to reveal an empty page. Would you sign Izuku's hero analysis journal? It would mean the world to him. Of course, anything for a fan. He began signing the journal before a question came to the pro. Young Bendy, why is it that you keep watching the young man as if you are ready to run? Bendy held his head down before answering. You see, me and my pals that Izuku made did something in the past. We traumatized him after some robber killed his mother and sent Izuku on an emotional joyride. The end result was Izuku looking at us in fear mixed with anger and telling us to never come out again. Now he refuses to even use his quirk. Bendy started to hold an ink tear in his eye before wiping it away. I'm sorry to hear that. It's not your fault. Even though Izuku doesn't want to use his quirk out of that fear, he still wants to become a hero. He works hard to do it also. Him and his childhood friend Katsumi. All Might smiled hearing this before Izuku started to toss and turn a bit. That's my cue to leave. I was never here, All Might. Bendy turned to ink before returning to Izuku as he woke up to see the number 1 pro in front of him. Oh my gosh. All Might. Izuku ran to his notebook to not find it anywhere. Here you go, son. I even took the liberty of signing it for you. Izuku grabbed the notebook to see the signature and bowed repeatedly to All Might. Thank you, sir. I'll cherish this forever. All Might smiled at this and was about to jump away. Before he did, Izuku stopped him with a question. All Might, you've seen several types of heroes and quirks in your day, right? Knowing what this is most likely about, he stopped for a moment to listen. For a while now, I've been holding my quirk back because of an accident that happened some years back. Recently I came to the realization that I have to use it if I want to be a hero, but I'm scared the same thing's gonna happen again. So I want your answer right now, sir. Izuku was shaking while asking. If a quirk had been used to kill someone, does that immediately mean it's an evil power? Bendy's words went through All Might's head as he answered. Quirks are a lot like people. Some harm, some don't, but there's also those who unintentionally harm. These feel the guilt of what they do to no end. Though they are good-willed people, they were just harmed by a dark action. They can never forget, but they can't live in the past regarding the mistake. All Might prepared to jump before saying his final bit. To put it simply, you can hold on to that guilt knowing that a quirk is dangerous if used wrong. However, be prepared to overcome that fear when you must in order to become a great person and save those close to you. Farewell, young Izuku. All Might jumped through the air with one question coming to Izuku. How did he know my name, reminding you all that Izuku was unconscious and didn't know of the conversation Bendy and him had? Izuku began walking back home with All Might's words in his head. What did he mean by that? He's only pulled out of it when an explosion is heard. On instinct, Izuku ran towards the site to see absolute chaos. The sludge villain that attacked him before was rampaging while the heroes couldn't do anything to stop them. What's going on? Why aren't they doing anything? It was at this moment, Izuku saw a head of ash blonde hair in the center of the sludge. It was none other than Katsumi, who was inside being held hostage to keep the pro heroes from doing anything to stop him. Get any closer and I'll snap the girl's neck. Izuku watched in horror as his best friend was used as a weapon with her quirk and as a shield from the heroes. What really got him though were her eyes. He's seen her hold almost every emotion under the sun, but this is the first time she's shown a face of true terror. Acting on his own accord, Izuku ran in as fast as he could right past the pros. Huh, you again. The sludge villain attacked Izuku for him to dodge and send his bag to his face. Why, you little. Izuku got up to the center to try and pull the sludge off Katsumi. It's okay, Kachin. I'm not gonna let this thing hurt you. Izuku was shaking in fear as the sludge villain smacked Izuku into a wall. He slowly got up to run back at the sludge villain. He kept at removing the sludge before the villain moved Katsumi's hand to hit Izuku with a blast to the chest. He held her arm to keep from flying back with a nasty burn being shown on him. The ash blonde was shaking seeing as she caused this much harm to her friend with a smile being on Izuku's face. It's okay, Kachin. I know this isn't you. Tears of pain and fear were in Izuku's face as he kept going. I'm not losing someone else I care about. Not now, not ever again so long as I have any say in the matter. You little brat. You just don't know when to quit. The sludge villain was prepared to attack again with several of the pros rushing in to try and stop this. Meanwhile, Izuku was able to pull enough sludge off Katsumi's mouth for her to warn him. Izuku dodge. He saw the attack out of the corner of his eye and chose not to move. If he did, he knew Katsumi would get the worst of it. Afraid and unsure what to do, he embraced his childhood friend as they both shut their eyes. In that moment though, Izuku subconsciously activated his quirk to make a ball of ink that covered them to stop the attack. When both opened their eyes again, they saw absolute darkness with the sound of the pro heroes outside taking down the sludge villain. Both were shaking and crying knowing they nearly died or lost someone they cared for. Eventually, Katsumi spoke while hugging Izuku as tight as she could. Thank you. Thank you for being okay. Izuku held her close as the ink barrier he made slowly came down to show the pro heroes that they were okay for the most part. 𝗬𝗲𝗄𝗏 was about to intervene, but MD Lady said to let them have their moment knowing this was something between them. Katsumi POV. After the sludge villain was captured, Deku was scolded for mindlessly running in and using his quirk when he had no license or privilege. Meanwhile, everyone was praising me even though most of the damage done was by my quirk. Once we were able to leave, our walk together to the house was completely silent. Katsumi. Hurting right now thinking he's failed his personal resolve. Try to tell him what he did was right. Easier said than done Bendy. I glanced over to see Deku completely in a trance. He was so distraught that he looked almost like a zombie. I stopped to see him barely respond and bump into me. Sorry. Stop acting like a mopey piece of itsy jackass. I struck him over his head for the idiot to finally give me his attention. Sorry. Listen up Deku, what you did wasn't wrong or evil in any means. I grabbed his shoulders to keep his attention on me. You saved both me and you from that sludge 𝗬𝗲𝗏. If anything, you were the real hero today and nobody else. He didn't understand this at all for me to say something I really didn't want to. I was scared out of my mind during the whole thing. I couldn't breathe and felt like I was gonna die there. Even though you were just as scared, you tried to help me even if it cost you everything. To me, that makes you my hero. And you saved me with your quirk. The same quirk you neglected for years. In my eyes, I don't think either one of us would have survived if it wasn't for you. Please, don't think that the quirk you hold is evil. It saved me and you today. You're my hero. These words got through to him to finally get a word out. Did I really do something worthy of being called a hero? Don't make me say it again, or I will hit you again. He started to smile a bit before reaching out to put me in a hug. Thank you Kaken. I didn't know what to do, so I just simply accepted it. Yeah, whatever idiot. I didn't show it to him, but I was happy Deku was hugging me. You still can't do SHT without me though. You little nerd. We remained like this before someone cleared their voice behind me. Deku immediately let go for us to turn to a man that looked kinda like he was on his deathbed. Deku immediately let go for us to turn to a man that looked kinda like he was on his deathbed 64. Who the F are you? Kachen be nice. The weirdo spoke up a bit to introduce himself. My name is Toshinori Yagi. I'm a friend of All Might's who asked me to speak with you young Midoriya. Deku started to go completely red hearing the number 1 pro hero's name. All Might wanted you to speak with me. That's right. He wanted me to train you with hopes of obtaining a power he wanted to give you. A power? You see, this is something that he can't just give anyone. It's something that must go to someone truly worthy of it, and he just happened to watch you save your girlfriend over there from danger. We're not dating. It's fine, I won't judge. But we aren't. Both me and Deku went a bit red before the skeleton man continued. Anyway, he's been looking for a successor to his power for some time and has decided that you are worthy of inheriting it. I stopped a moment to get on the same base as the guy. Okay, let's back this the F up a bit. You can't give someone power the way you're saying. That's scientifically impossible. To make a long story short, this is a power that has the privilege to pass on to another person. That person then refines the power and adds to it with the CYCL repeating. This has happened a total of 8 times with young Midoriya possibly being the 9th. But I need you to answer me first lad. Will you inherit this power to become his successor? Deku thought for a second before nodding. I don't know how this works, but I'll give it my all. That's the spirit. I want you to meet me at 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Municipal Beach tomorrow at sunrise. Hold it. The man glanced at me while I placed my arm around Deku. Just so I know this isn't some kind of scam or something weird, I'm coming too. I also want to get Deku here to use his actual quirk and get used to it before gaining that power of yours. It's only right. Very well. I shall see you both tomorrow at 6 in the morning. Yagi left for both me and Deku to look at each other. The quip about us being a couple came into my mind again to try and rush home to avoid any more awkwardness. Let's go home. The old hag's probably worrying about us. Katsumi, wait up. The next day me and Deku arrived at 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Municipal Beach bright and early to see the place was an absolute mess. What the hell happened? This place was awesome when we were kids. If I remember correctly, the currents here bought a good amount of the trash here with people that clean up the beach being no longer able to keep up. Eventually, it became somewhere where people illegally dump their garbage. Bunch of lazy pieces of then this place smells gross. Who the F lets a beach go this much to 𝗧𝗵𝗲? A pickup truck started to pull up to show the skeleton man coming out. Good to see you both made it. Alright skeleton man, what are we doing at this literal 𝗧𝗵𝗲 hole? 𝗵𝗃𝗲 will be cleaning this place for training. Both me and Deku looked at him like he had a second head. Come again. Hero work is more than just fighting villains, it's also about giving back to the community. This beach was once a marvel, now it's nothing more than a shame to the eyes that saw it in its prime. But if the trash was to be removed, the beauty of this once great beach would return. Deku walked down to the beach with the old man before nearing the shoreline. For the next 10 months, you'll be cleaning this beach with a goal of the shoreline being completely clear. Along with this, you will be doing a special training regimen I have for you. He passed Deku a stack of papers to look through. I glanced over as well to see he also had a regimen for training with me. Holy 𝗧𝗵𝗲, this dude thought of everything. From now until the entrance exams, you'll be training as hard as you can. So be prepared, lad. When do I start? When you meet the criteria I gave you, you'll receive the quirk. Deku passed me the papers to hang on to them for safekeeping before rolling up his sleeves to begin picking up a few garbage bags. Skeleton Man told him to place the trash in the back of his trick so they could unload at the nearby dump. While he did this, both me and the old man hung out by the side to watch. So why did you have Deku do this and leave space for me to train with him? Let's say, a certain little devil talked to me about the situation he's in. I immediately turned to the geezer trying to find out what he meant. That little lad that calls himself Bendy explained how young 𝗵𝗃𝗲 was hurt badly to me. In the heat of the moment during the Sludge villain attack, he protected you and him with his quirk. In my eyes, that means you're someone special to young 𝗵𝗃𝗲. So if someone like you can help him use the quirk he had sealed away, maybe he could be an even stronger hero and man. Deku began to groan as a garbage bag broke open to drop a ton of convenience store bento cases. Well then I guess I need to think of a way to help Deku get to where he should be with his quirk. Later in the afternoon after class, me and Deku met out in the open area of the forest we normally train in for our usual training session as he believed. So what are we going to do today? Endurance. Strength. Combat. Quirk training. Deku went silent when hearing this. I know how you feel, Deku, but you gotta understand you're gonna need to use ink maker. You don't have to use it to the fullest, but holding it fully back isn't healthy. Two just can't. I took a deep sigh out trying to think of how to get through to him. Izuku. Hurting right now thinking he's failed his personal resolve. Try to tell him what he did was right. Easier said than done, Bendy. I glanced over to see Deku completely in a trance. He was so distraught that he looked almost like a zombie. I stopped to see him barely respond and bump into me. Sorry. Stop acting like a mopey piece of itsy jackass. I struck him over his head for the idiot to finally give me his attention. Sorry. Listen up, Deku, what you did wasn't wrong or evil in any means. I grabbed his shoulders to keep his attention on me. You saved both me and you from that sludge 𝗵𝗃𝗲. If anything, you were the real hero today and nobody else. He didn't understand this at all for me to say something I really didn't want to. I was scared out of my mind during the whole thing. I couldn't breathe and felt like I was gonna die there. Even though you were just as scared, you tried to help me even if it cost you everything. To me, that makes you my hero. And you saved me with your quirk. The same quirk you neglected for years. In my eyes, I don't think either one of us would have survived if it wasn't for you. Please, don't think that the quirk you hold is evil. It saved me and you today. You're my hero. These words got through to him to finally get a word out. Did I really do something worthy of being called a hero? Don't make me say it again, or I will hit you again. He started to smile a bit before reaching out to put me in a hug. Thank you, Kaken. I didn't know what to do, so I just simply accepted it. Yeah, whatever, idiot. I didn't show it to him, but I was happy Deku was hugging me. You still can't do SHT without me though. You little nerd. We remained like this before someone cleared their voice behind me. Deku immediately let go for us to turn to a man that looked kinda like he was on his deathbed. Deku immediately let go for us to turn to a man that looked kinda like he was on his deathbed. 64. Who the F are you? Katsumi, be nice. The weirdo spoke up a bit to introduce himself. My name is Toshinori Yagi. I'm a friend of All Might's who asked me to speak with you, young Midoriya. Deku started to go completely red hearing the number 1 pro hero's name. All Might wanted you to speak with me. That's right. He wanted me to train you with hopes of obtaining a power he wanted to give you. A power? You see, this is something that he can't just give anyone. It's something that must go to someone truly worthy of it, and he just happened to watch you save your girlfriend over there from danger. We're not dating. It's fine, I won't judge. But we aren't. Both me and Deku went a bit red before the skeleton man continued. Anyway, he's been looking for a successor to his power for some time and has decided that you are worthy of inheriting it. I stopped a moment to get on the same base as the guy. Okay, let's back this the F up a bit. You can't give someone power the way you're saying. That's scientifically impossible. To make a long story short, this is a power that has the privilege to pass on to another person. That person then refines the power and adds to it with the CYCL repeating. This has happened a total of 8 times with young Midoriya possibly being the 9th. But I need you to answer me first, lad. Will you inherit this power to become his successor? Deku thought for a second before nodding. I don't know how this works, but I'll give it my all. That's the spirit. I want you to meet me at Dagoba Municipal Beach tomorrow at sunrise. Hold it. The man glanced at me while I placed my arm around Deku. Just so I know this isn't some kind of scam or something weird, I'm coming too. I also want to get Deku here to use his actual quirk and get used to it before gaining that power of yours. It's only right. Very well. I shall see you both tomorrow at 6 in the morning. Yagi left for both me and Deku to look at each other. The quip about us being a couple came into my mind again to try and rush home to avoid any more awkwardness. Let's go home. The old hag's probably worrying about us. Katsumi, wait up. The next day me and Deku arrived at Dagoba Municipal Beach bright and early to see the place was an absolute mess. What the hell happened? This place was awesome when we were kids. If I remember correctly, the currents here bought a good amount of the trash here with people that clean up the beach being no longer able to keep up. Eventually, it became somewhere where people illegally dump their garbage. Bunch of lazy pieces of then this place smells gross. Who the F lets a beach go this much to 𝗧𝗵𝗲? A pickup truck started to pull up to show the skeleton man coming out. Good to see you both made it. Alright, skeleton man, what are we doing at this literal SHT hole? Young Midoriya will be cleaning this place for training. Both me and Deku looked at him like he had a second head. Come again. Hero work is more than just fighting villains, it's also about giving back to the community. This beach was once a marvel, now it's nothing more than a shame to the eyes that saw it in its prime. But if the trash was to be removed, the beauty of this once great beach would return. Deku walked down to the beach with the old man before nearing the shoreline. For the next 10 months, you'll be cleaning this beach with a goal of the shoreline being completely clear. Along with this, you will be doing a special training regimen I have for you. He passed Deku a stack of papers to look through. I glanced over as well to see he also had a regimen for training with me. Holy 𝗧𝗵𝗲, this dude thought of everything. From now until the entrance exams, you'll be training as hard as you can. So be prepared, lad. When do I start? When you meet the criteria I gave you, you'll receive the quirk. Deku passed me the papers to hang on to them for safekeeping before rolling up his sleeves to begin picking up a few garbage bags. Skeleton Man told him to place the trash in the back of his trick so they could unload at the nearby dump. While he did this, both me and the old man hung out by the side to watch. So why did you have Deku do this and leave space for me to train with him? Let's say, a certain little devil talked to me about the situation he's in. I immediately turned to the geezer trying to find out what he meant. That little lad that calls himself Bendy explained how young 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗵𝗲 was hurt badly to me. In the heat of the moment during the Sludge villain attack, he protected you and him with his quirk. In my eyes, that means you're someone special to young 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗵𝗲. So if someone like you can help him use the quirk he had sealed away, maybe he could be an even stronger hero and man. Deku began to groan as a garbage bag broke open to drop a 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗃 of convenience store bento cases. Well then I guess I need to think of a way to help Deku get to where he should be with his quirk. Later in the afternoon after class, me and Deku met out in the open area of the forest we normally train in for our usual training session as he believed. So what are we going to do today? Endurance, strength, combat, quirk training. Deku went silent when hearing this. I know how you feel, Deku, but you gotta understand you're gonna need to use 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃. You don't have to use it to the fullest, but holding it fully back isn't healthy. Two just can't. I took a deep sigh out trying to think of how to get through to him. Izuku. His shoulders and tried to look at him in the most calm way I could. Forget about what you saw Bendy and the gang turned into for now. Forget the vow to never use your quirk again for now. Forget about the fear of losing control and going on a rampage like what happened when we were kids for now. I need you to focus solely on what we're doing right now. Forgive yourself for letting your emotions get the better of you when we were 5. You're not that scared little boy anymore. You're a young adult that understands emotions can be dangerous if too much negativity is in them. So please, use your quirk for me. Izuku looked down at his hands to have ink pool in them. He started shaking as he did this to prove he was scared. Just breathe. Inhale, exhale, I won't lose control. That's the spirit. Now let's try making something small. If it's like that, you don't have to worry about losing control. The ink started to shape into a capsule of some kind before having color form. When it finished, Izuku showed an old type often. Why a pen? Haven't you heard that the pen's mightier than the sword? Bullshit. Why a pen? Haven't you heard that the pen's mightier than the sword? Bullshit. A sword can be used to fight, while a pen can't do pages. I disagree. With the words a pen creates, laws can be broken or made, wars can be created or dispersed, and people's hearts can be placed on paper by just a pen alone. To me, the pen can make or break things where a sword can only destroy or defend what is already made. Can't argue with that logic. Fair enough. Let's see how much ink you can use for now before going any forward. I guess knowing a limit is needed. Deku started pulling as much ink out of his body as possible. I had him place it in a few gallon jugs I had with me for him to fill the first and second before his skin began irritating him more than he could handle. After, we used the ink to form things with the largest possible item being a car engine. It wasn't a big step, but Deku's been neglecting his quirk long enough to make the fact he could use it halfway decent impressive enough. Let's call it here. Tomorrow we'll start practice fighting and continue using our quirks to the limits going forward. As we left, Deku pulled the ink he released back in his body for his skin to moisten up a bit more. So you can pull the ink back in, I guess. Was kinda new to me as well. Well, I guess we'll learn as we go. Let's get to Dagobah to meet up with the old timer. Right. 5 months later, the time of training had reached its halfway point. This is when Deku was reaching his physical limit. Training with the skeleton man and me forced him to work harder than he ever had to the point I could see how much his body changed from being DMN well built to straight up solid muscle. It was bitter work for him, but Deku reached his goal and above to halfway up the beach. Well, you've succeeded my expectations, young 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗵𝗲. Now for a secret I've been keeping. What, is the geezer all might or something? Like that's possible. I began to laugh to myself as the old-timer's scrawny form gained more muscle until he turned into someone we knew personally. What, is the geezer all might or something? Like that's possible. I began to laugh to myself as the old-timer's scrawny form gained more muscle until he turned into someone we knew personally. You see, I've been all might this entire time. Holy SHT, that was actually true. Both Deku and All Might looked at me confused. I joked to myself saying you were All Might, not realizing I was actually hitting it right on the money. Both gave a look of understanding before All Might continued. To make a long story short, my boy, I've been looking for a worthy successor of my quirk for a long time. After seeing you courageously go into the heat of battle just to save young Bakugo here, I had discovered that you are truly destined for greatness, my boy. All I did was just jump into that situation like an idiot. I don't see how that makes me great. Tell me, what was going through your head before going into that situation to help young Bakugo? Deku thought about it before shrugging his shoulders. I don't know. All I thought was that I wanted to save her, then I found myself running. Many great heroes' tales started out the same. Their bodies moved on their own or they just acted on instinct. This is how great heroes begin their journey, and this is what happened to you, son. Now Izuku Midoriya, I deem you worthy of inheriting my quirk. All Might pulled a single hair out of his head while continuing to speak. Take pride in this, lad. You had to earn this power as opposed to being born with it. Now eat this. We both remained silent after hearing what he just said. Wait, what? To inherit my power, you need a bit of my DNA. Now eat. You. I knew going with that old man was a bad idea, but I didn't expect the #1 pro to actually make Deku do something so gross. I watched as Deku ate the hair with a completely disgusted look on his face. To be fair though, the image of him eating the hair was absolutely disgusting as well. Ugh, do you ever wash your hair, All Might? I may have skipped it a few days. Then why make me / do you eat your hair today? There was a silence before All Might reverted back to his scrawny form, coughing up his disguise on his deathbed. Hard to believe though that he's our #1 pro. I don't feel any different. The quirk will work its way in your system in a few hours. You won't have it immediately, but you will when the hair works its way through your body. Please don't talk about the hair again, I'm gonna 𝗍𝗪𝗢𝗎𝗄. I desperately held down my urge to vomit while All Might continued. Anyway, our next set of training will have you two face one another while continuing to clean the beach. This'll make for good workout and strengthening yourself with the quirk. Now, let's see what you're both made of. All Might stepped away from us with Deku regaining his composure. You got that nasty but taste out of your mouth yet? Please don't remind me. Once he finally came out of his grossed out state, Deku raised his arms up to fight. Let's see what you can do, nerd. Starting tomorrow, things get interesting. Definitely. Both of us began activating our quirks before All Might shouted. Begin. Izuku POV. It's been about 10 months since me and Katsumi met All Might and started training with him. Since I obtained OFA, I was able to grow in strength and skill with both the quirk and ink maker. Training for OFA was kinda shaky off the bat since I couldn't get a handle on controlling the strength in the beginning. Though after Katsumi explained that it was kinda like shooting out my ink at full blast as opposed to holding back a bit to avoid major drawbacks, I seemed to get it a little more. Thanks to that and her suggesting to use the quirk all throughout my body, I can use the quirk for the most as efficient as I can. Might only be at 5% of the max power from what All Might said, but it's definitely better than making it feel like I'm constantly pulling muscles or breaking bones. Today though was the moment of truth. The entrance exams. You up yet, Deku? Katsumi shouted from outside the door while I was putting on my shirt. Almost ready. Well, hurry the F up or you won't get food before you go. She walked away from me to finish buttoning my shirt and head downstairs. Both Katsumi and Aunt Mitsuki were having their normal squabbles for me to sit by Uncle Masaru to watch. What's today's fight about? Katsumi was ticked off about something Mitsuki said. I narrowly evaded a frying pan being thrown near my head before digging into my breakfast. So, Izuku, today you and Katsumi start the entrance exams. Are you worried? I'll admit I'm a little on edge, but I'm determined to pass this exam and get into UA. If I can, I'll be one step closer to mine and 𝗵𝗃𝗄's dreams as children. 𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗃 seemed to smile at this before saying something. This may be a bit of a strange question, but hear me out. Okay. What do you think of my daughter? I swallowed what was in my mouth while watching both 𝗵𝗃𝗄 and 𝗵𝗃𝗄 continue throwing stuff at each other. I think she's a very nice person even if she doesn't really show it as much as she should. When what happened to my mom happened, she was willing to stay by my side and is still on my side. To me, she's an irreplaceable friend that I'm happy to have in my life. I smiled before taking a sip of the miso I had. Would you by any chance be willing to make Katsumi something more than a friend? I spat my soup out to make 𝗵𝗃𝗄 pay attention to us on the floor being held in a chokehold. That I'm not I mean it's not a bad thing to stop saying this dit in front of Deku old man. 𝗵𝗃𝗄 was able to get out of the chokehold to kick 𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗃 out of his seat. What the hell, Katsumi? She immediately grabbed the back of my shirt and our stuff before walking to the door. We're leaving. Wait, but what about breakfast? We'll pick something up on the way. Right now I'm done hearing this 𝗧𝗍𝗲 from my old man and the hag and I'm not having you listen to them. He neared the door while Aunt Mitsuki continued to fight 𝗵𝗃𝗄 about whatever they were fighting about today. I wonder what this house would be like when it isn't as lively. 2 hours later, after getting something to eat on the way and a train ride to the closest station, we finally arrived at our destination. UA High. Oh. The school's a lot bigger in person. Whatever. Size doesn't mean much. The quality should be what really sets this school apart. 𝗵𝗃𝗄 started to walk in while I realized that I was lagging behind. Hey, wait up. I started to run in before tripping over the curb. I felt myself fall to prepare for a painful landing. When it didn't come, I glanced around to see I was floating in midair. Sorry about using my quirk on you. I looked over to see a girl with brown hair in a bob cut and a permanent blush on her cheeks. There you go. Right side up and release. She touched her fingertips together for me to stand back on solid ground. That was amazing. Is that your quirk? Yeah. Long story short, I can control gravity by touching it with these pads on my fingertips. She showed her hands to me to see small pads on her fingers that looked almost like calluses. My name's Ochako Uraraka. Nice to meet you. Izuku Midoriya, and likewise. Oidikeyu. Hurry up or we'll be late. 𝗵𝗃𝗄 shouted from the fat, showing a kinda annoyed face to me. Is she your girlfriend? No. She's just a friend. Oh, well, she kinda gave me that vibe. Sorry for the misunderstanding. Anyway, I'll see you inside. Uraraka went into the school for me to start walking in as well. Before I got in though, 𝗵𝗃𝗄 gave me a punch to the gut to make me bend over. Cough cough, why'd you do that? To get you out of that stupid look you've got. Now get your butt in gear, I wanna find where we gotta go as fast as we can. 𝗵𝗃𝗄 walked inside with a bit of an angered look on her for some reason. Did I do something to anger her? I put this off to head inside and catch up to her. In the orientation room, what's up folks? I'll be giving you the rundown on today's exam for the hero course. Can I get a yeah? We all remained silent enough to hear a pin drop as President Mike spoke. Wow, tough crowd. Anyway, here's how the exam's gonna take place. We listened carefully to President Mike as he gave the tutorial on the exam. Once me and 𝗵𝗃𝗄 realized he was just reading off of the pamphlet for the most part, we kinda stopped listening. I'm surprised you're pretty mellow right now. Normally when you'd see someone like Mike here, you'd go into full-on nerd mode. 𝗵𝗃𝗄 glanced at me while I answered. Believe me when I say that I'm internally freaking out right now. The fact that we've got President Mike here doesn't make it any less enthusiastic towards me. In fact, it actually makes me more excited to pass the exam. 𝗵𝗃𝗄 shrugged before looking at the paper again. Shame we can't take the exam together. They most likely did that so we can't work together or something. Makes enough sense. She still seemed kinda angered for some reason for it starting to worry me. Hey 𝗵𝗃𝗄, are you mad at me? What gives you that impression? Well, you've kinda been in a bad mood after what happened outside with Uraraka. I couldn't care less who you wanna hang out with and who you wanna screw around with. I'm not interested in a deep relationship like that with 𝗬𝗧𝗏 right off the bat. We just met and she helped me from falling. It didn't seem that way from where I was. You seemed kinda happy she was helping you. The conversation seemed to get more sour as we went on until some guy with glasses spoke up. Excuse me. On the paper you have given has described 4 robots instead of 3 as you have described. If this is a mistake, then it is a horrible mistake on your school's end. And you too. The guy pointed at our general direction. This is a place for people who wish to become heroes. Not for your lovers' quarrels. If this is all you two are here for, then please leave. You are a distraction to everyone. We're not lovers/we're not lovers. Both of us shouted in unison for everyone to be dead silent. We glanced at each other before going a bit red. Mike went on to explain that the last robot was just a hindrance and that we should avoid it entirely since we won't get any points for defeating it. On the testing grounds, once I was in the testing area, I glanced around to see some people have tools or equipment to help them use their quirks better. The fact I was kinda alone here was really intimidating until I noticed someone. Is that 𝗬𝗧𝗏? I noticed the girl from the front to the side taking a few deep breaths to most likely calm herself a bit. Maybe if I go talk to her, she'll calm down a bit. I started walking her way before I felt a hand on my shoulder. Can't you see she is trying to concentrate? If all you are here to do is become a hindrance to others, then leave. I turned around to see the same guy from before that called me and 𝗬𝗏𝗏 out behind me. Sorry, but I was just trying to see if talking a bit could help her a little. Too much stress isn't good for the body, as my uncle taught me. Sometimes just talking about nothing can be helpful. He seemed to think this through a bit before pulling his hand off me. Perhaps, but it is best not to get too calm. We are taking a test that is meant to decide whether we will be inside this school's hero course or not, so we should not take this lightly. Furthermore, the guy kept going on about what is right and wrong for it to be kinda creepy and funny in a way at the same time. Was he raised this strict or was he born like this? And go. We all stopped to look and see Mike. Above the entrance to the city with the doors wide open. What are you waiting for? There's no ready set in the real world. The clock's ticking. I activated full cowl and ran into the city as fast as I could. Running in, I noticed a couple 2-pointers to make a giant mallet with ink maker. I got me mallet. I crushed them with it before changing the ink into a steel bat and hitting the head of one through a 3-pointer. Grand slam. I kept running through using a mix of OFA and ink maker to destroy robots and stopping some from hurting others. A few I was able to help were this French guy that was bending over in pain with a 2-pointer about to hit him. He used some kind of laser from his stomach to destroy the robot before bending over again. Another was this guy with ball on his head that was running for his life from a couple of 3-pointers that tripped and was about to get hurt. And a third was this girl that had dark hair that was about to get hit in the back of the head by a 1-pointer. By the time the exam was in its second half, I already obtained about 50 points. Let's see if I can get more. In the monitor room, third-person POV, this year's group seems to be doing rather well. A man that looked like he was made of cement states this as a group of people looked at the screen. Some are natural-born fighters, others survey their area, while some are able to judge and dictate best courses of action. A small rodent states this before a man with some kind of helmet on glances at a screen with Izuku on it. This kid seems to have a good grasp on all 3. He's been helping people and taking down robots with some ease. The group turns to see Izuku make a wrench and unscrew a bunch of bolts on a 3-pointer before it falls apart. He fell apart at the seams, people. The small comment made a woman in a 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗏 suit snort a bit. He's sorta funny. I wonder how they will handle a real situation that tests their skills. The small rodent presses a large red button before sitting back and taking a sip of some tea he had on the side. Back on the exam area, the ground began to rumble a bit before a colossal robot came from underneath the pavement. All right, who pressed the red button? Izuku glanced at the robot while saying this, remembering how bad things like this always happens in cartoons when someone presses the big red button. Everyone started to run away with Izuku about to as well. He only stopped when he heard someone shout in pain. He glanced back at the robot to notice 𝗬𝗧𝗏𝗏 on the ground struggling to get up. The green-haired boy's eyes went back to her kindness outside to panic a bit. She didn't deserve to get hurt and everyone was ignoring her. Izuku knew he wanted and had to do something to help her. On instinct, he ran into the area without even thinking it through. Izuku looked around the area to see the robot's foot being brought up to slam right where 𝗬𝗧𝗃𝗧 was. What was keeping her from moving was most likely the boulders over her leg to make Izuku unintentionally activate 𝗬𝗃𝗍 at full power in his legs. He jumped right up to the robot's face before pulling his right arm back. I want to help, but I can't if I don't give everything I can. Izuku created a brace of ink over his arm to try and absorb some of the shock in the attack before activating 𝗬𝗃𝗍 at full power. Smosh. He left a huge dent in the robot's face before it shattered and caused a chain reaction of explosions to destroy the colossal robot. Everyone watching stood amazed as Izuku beat the monster and saved someone. Unfortunately, Izuku found himself falling quickly to realize what just happened. Oh CRP. I just jumped without thinking. He glanced back to see his legs along with his right arm were broken to panic. Gotta make something for the fall. Bubble. 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 The ink user made a small bubble out of his ink to land on the ground and bounce around a bit before slowing down and stopping next to 𝗬𝗧𝗃𝗧. It released to show Izuku as a broken mess to the girl as he faded from consciousness due to the pain. Are you okay? My everything hurts. These were the only words he could say before blocking out. The test ended right after as a small elderly woman came over to see Izuku. Good heavens, you're a mess, Sonny. That quirk of yours does seem to have a terrible drawback. She states this as she saw Izuku's dried, skinned, and broken body. Not long after, she kissed Izuku on his forehead with lips that extended out about 3 feet. This disgusted a bunch of people before seeing all the physical injuries on the boy's body practically gone. The woman then moved on to 𝗬𝗧𝗃𝗧, who felt a bit of fatigue from the act. Try to not overdo it, Missy, but could you be a dear and help get this boy to the infirmary? Sure. 𝗬𝗧𝗃𝗧 picked Izuku up with her quirk to lug him on her back. On her way, she noticed Katsumi waiting near the boys' changing room to flag her down. Hey, you're Midoriya's friend, right? Yeah, what's it to you? 𝗬𝗧𝗃𝗧 motioned to Izuku to was unconscious. What the F? Katsumi was about to go postal on 𝗬𝗧𝗃𝗧 before she explained that this was because he wanted to help her. The ash blonde let 𝗬𝗧𝗃𝗧 explain the situation while they brought Izuku to the infirmary to rest. So he used his power to save you and became AF train wreck after. Then this old woman came to heal him with some creepy but lips and told you to bring him here. That's pretty much it. Katsumi glanced at the two while Izuku was placed on the bed. I can watch him from here. Do you mind if I stay? I want to thank him for what he did. I'll relay the message, round face. Better he just has me here or he'll think his asinine saving was something he should regularly do. 𝗬𝗧𝗃𝗧 understood to begin walking out. When she left, Katsumi glanced down at Izuku, clearly pissed. You're AF idiot, you know that. Even though she was mad, the ash blonde couldn't help but smile. But that idiocy isn't that bad. She gave a small peck on Izuku's forehead before sitting down in the chair waiting for him to wake up. Katsumi POV. A few weeks passed since the entrance exams with the one girl from before still ticking me off for some reason. Deku said it wasn't her fault he did what he did, but Thatch, you can't just blow off the fact you almost died because of some blonde bimbo's stupidity. Hey Kacchan, you okay? It's been irritating me more and more for some reason with Bendy telling me to let it go. Kacchan. No matter how much I try though, I can't get the fact that the round-faced girl was someone that Deku went out of the way to dash. Kacchan. I stopped my inner monologue to see Deku right in front of me. On instinct, I punched him in the gut for him to bend over in pain. What was that for cough cough? Next time warn me before getting up in my face, dumbass. I tried calling you a couple of times, but you didn't reply. I was worried you were either mad or not feeling well, so I wanted to know. He starts to regain his composure before sitting back on the couch we were on watching some old cartoons. You've been acting kinda weird since the entrance exams. Did something happen? No. I glanced at the TV trying to focus on something else with the image of the girl from before still in my head. Are you still mad about me getting hurt? Do what you want, just don't give me problems when you get F up by someone that you're fighting. He was silent before saying something. I'm sorry again I made you wait for me to wake up because of doing what I did. I remembered the kiss I gave him on his forehead to turn red. Why are you saying hit like that but? I punched him again to send Deku to the floor. When he sat up, we heard snickering in the door frame. In it, the hag and old man were there looking at us. What the F's so funny, eh? Don't call your mother a hag, ya brat. I'll call ya what you are, ya hag, says the brat who's thinking she's too big for her bridges. I kept fighting with the hag until the old man held her back and Deku tried to hold me back. Now Mitsuki. We came to give them their letters from UA. We didn't want to start fights. Besides, we're still trying to fix the holes from your last fight. I stopped remembering what happened last fight where I accidentally threw Deku through a wall by accident when he tried to stop us with the hag grabbing the old man to use as a 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗀. Still amazed what the F he sees in the hag. Anyway, the letters from UA came in for you kids. The hag gave us the letters for me to immediately rip mine open and see a small note inside that looked like All Might's handwriting. It said, "Listen to 𝗵𝗃𝗲 hologram." Alright Deku, why don't you open yours? Deku walked to the couch where he looked at the envelope for a moment. It's okay. I'm sure you passed. He let out a deep sigh before ripping the letter open and having a small hologram come out. When it hit the table, the thing activated and showed a certain muscle head that me and Deku both know rather well. I'm here. On a hologram. All Might. We all shouted as he simply smiled on the hologram before continuing. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 and 𝗵𝗃𝗲, nicely done on both your ends as you two have begun to take the next step into the world of heroes. Now on to the results. For the written test, 𝗵𝗃𝗲 has obtained a 95% on her exam while 𝗵𝗃𝗲 obtained a 96.5% for both of you to do arguably the best on the exam. The hag ruffled our hair at this with a smile before All Might continued. Now for the physical exam. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 had obtained a total of 82 points to easily surpass and get into UA. Meanwhile, 𝗵𝗃𝗲 had obtained a total of 77 points. I won the physical half. However, there was another part of the test that we didn't discuss. Wait, what? The hologram showed the image of Deku jumping up to smash that skyscraper robot in the face. For such a selfless act of heroism, how could we not award points for it? So the secret group of overviewers had decided to give you 60 hero points to bring your total up to a whopping 137 points. Welcome both of you to your hero academia. The hologram stopped for both of us to smile at each other. We did it, Deku. Now comes the bigger part of our journey. Getting past the hero school. Deku gave a huge sigh before beginning to cry a bit. Come on man, I thought we were past this crybaby. Sorry. I'm just really happy. The smile on his face told me that, but what really made me happy was that he actually passed and is now on the way of recovering from what happened. Sorry Bendy, but it'll have to be a little while longer till you can come back out. The image of Bendy giving me a thumbs up was shown in my head to make it okay. Time skipped to first day of UA. Izuku POV. Me and Katsumi began walking down the halls of UA trying to find our classroom. When we came upon a giant door that had one on it, we stopped for a moment to marvel at the sheer size of it. What the F are they trying to prepare for here? Godzilla's spawn. To be honest, it might be for those that have a quirk that makes them grow rather large. I mean, MT Lady can grow to amazingly large sizes that are scientifically impossible, and the average human's height now is undeniably variant now with quirks. I kept going off spitting facts out unintentionally before feeling a book to my head. Stop yammering, ya damned nerd. Sorry. I held my head while Katsumi walks in with her book in hand before sitting down in a desk she was supposed to sit in with her feet on top of it. The other students that were there looked at her kinda confused before the one in the entrance exams came up to begin shouting at Katsumi. Get your feet off that desk this instant. It is an insult to the upperclassmen that sat in it prior and the people who made it. Katsumi didn't mind him as she continued to do as she pleased to open the book she had and start reading. The blue-haired man then noticed the bow in her hair to point attention to it. That bow in your hair is not regulation for school attire and must be taken out immediately. Will ya shut up, you shitty 4 eyes, and I'll take the bow out of my hair as I damned well please. Everyone was a little surprised when she spoke up and shouted in anger for some guy with ball for hair to ask about it. Present from an old boy fry dash. You speak up again without my permission, midget, and you're being rocketed to the moon. Katsumi glared at him with absolute rage being done before he crept back into his seat. Oh, I like this chick. A girl with aux cords for ears commented for everyone to look at her in curiosity. What? She knows how to handle the room. Nobody questioned this before I heard someone from behind me. 𝗵𝘃𝗧𝗵𝗲. Turning back, I noticed it was 𝗬𝗧𝗔𝗂𝗏. Awesome. So we're in the same class. I started to blush a bit as she seemed to get a little too close for comfort. This is gonna be so much fun. I never got to thank you for what you did during the entrance exams personally. But thanks for helping me. It wasn't anything. She's really close. I hope we can be good friends. If you're here to make friends, then leave. We heard an older voice say this to turn towards the halls and see some kind of giant caterpillar outside. What is that thing? It soon came out of the now known to be a yellow sleeping bag to show it was a man that was kinda hobo looking. It soon came out of the now known to be a yellow sleeping bag to show it was a man that was kinda hobo looking. It took you all 8 seconds to quiet down. We'll have to work on that. He got near the podium for all of us to start sitting down in our seats. Hello, I'm Shota Aizawa. I'll be your homeroom teacher for the year or whatever. He pulled out 20 uniforms out of his sleeping bag and placed them on the podium before folding it over. Put these on and meet me outside. We did as he asked to grab a uniform with our name on it and head over to the changing areas. On the field as we came out, Mr. Aizawa seemed to be still very unimpressed with us for some reason before 𝗬𝗧𝗔𝗂𝗏 spoke up. Sir, what about orientation? UA allows its teachers to have their classes be done however way they see fit so long as the curriculum that needs to be done is completed. In short, I can teach my class however I want. 𝗵𝘃𝗧𝗏. Mr. Aizawa tossed me a ball before pointing to a circle. You scored the highest on the entrance exams. What was your farthest throw in middle school? 65 meters, sir. Try using your quirk this time. I got to the circle and began to debate what I should do. You can do whatever you see fit so long as you stay in the circle. That makes this a little easier. I had a large amount of ink come out of my arm to fall to the ground and start shaping it. What the hell is that stuff? Deku's quirk allows him to change the natural oils in his body into ink and become whatever he sees fit. The things he makes can be either living or non-living, depending on what he makes. Also, what he makes is still ink no matter what shape it becomes. Katsumi explained the basis of my quirk before I finished my creation of a cannon. Loading the ammo. I stuck my arm through the ink to place the ball inside the 𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏 cartridge before going behind it. Fire. I pulled the string for a massive explosion to be heard and the ball going quite a distance. When it started to go out of sight, Mr. Aizawa held his phone up with a number on it. The number said 797. 5 meters. The school educational system of keeping people on a level playing field is somewhat useless for heroes and is rather out of the times. Today, you all will be taking 8 exams to determine where you all stand with one another as to your physical capabilities with your quirks. So it's kinda like those tests we took in middle school. This could be fun. A girl with pink skin and horns said this for Aizawa to speak up towards it. Fun, is it? Well then how about this? The person who gets last will be deemed to have no talent whatsoever and be expelled on the spot. We all froze when hearing this. You can't kick us out on the first day. That isn't fair. Fair. Tell me, are natural disasters fair? What about homicidal villains that harm innocent people, crimes that can't be brought to justice, or even massive accidents with no probable cause? The world is full of unfairness. It's up to heroes though to push past these unfair things to do their job. As our motto says here, you all need to push past your own limits. Plus ultra. Time skipped to the end of the exams, third-person POV. The events were rather well diverse for the most part. There were a few that some students excelled in, such as the man with glasses known as Ida being the one to tie for first in the 100-meter sprint and 𝗬𝗧𝗏𝗏 obtaining first in the ball throw by gaining a score of infinity for everyone to question just how. Izuku and Katsumi however did rather well leading the pack for the most part however. During the 100-meter dash and the strength test, Izuku had used OFA in order to increase his speed and tie for first within both. He was also able to use Ink Maker in tests like the sit-up and the long distance to increase his time in the air and the amount of sit-ups Izuku could use due to making small ball to bounce up and down on during the event. Meanwhile, Katsumi had attempted to keep up with Izuku the best she could before ultimately accepting defeat in some. She did however beat Izuku in tests like the long jump as well as the long distance, mainly due to it being last and Izuku being somewhat worn out from constantly using his quirk in ways he had needed to lower his endurance to do so. Finally, it came to the end where all the scores would be told. Alright, saying where you are in all these tests would be a pain and it would be a waste of time since you all somewhat know where you stand. So up on the screen is where you place as opposed to all your peers here. When Aizawa showed the screen, Izuku and Katsumi were somewhat interested since they placed practically next to one another in every event. 𝗬𝗵𝗲 𝗎𝗪𝙢𝙢 Izuku Midoriya rode Katsumi Bakugi Shoto Todoroki 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗬𝗵𝗃 𝗵𝗃𝗃 Shoji 𝗵𝗃 𝗎𝗪𝗢 𝗎𝗪𝗢 Kirishima 𝗵𝗵𝗃 Ashido 𝗎�ochako Uraraka 𝗎𝗂𝗎 Rikito Sato 𝗎𝗬𝗎ui 𝗎𝗎Yuga Aoyama 𝗎Hantasuro 𝗎 Denki Kaminari 𝗎𝗎Kyokaja Toru Hagakure 𝗎 𝗵𝗄. Oh, and by the way, the expulsion was a lie. Everyone looked at Aizawa amazed as he gave a huge smile. It was just a logical ruse to get you all to work your hardest. Izuku knelt down, nearly surviving from a small heart attack, realizing his fears were unessential before sounds of cheering was heard. I still have a chance to get a hot girlfriend. 𝗵𝗄 was shouting for joy that he wasn't expelled. In this, the small man accidentally bumped into Ochako, who was walking over to see if Izuku was okay to knock her into Katsumi. As this happened, Izuku found himself trampled by both girls with his face going right into their chests. Well, this can't end well. Aizawa stated before 𝗵𝗄 noticed where Izuku was. You lucky 𝗬𝗲𝗍. That should be me down there. Izuku went completely red before Katsumi got up to grab the small man by the neck. Listen up, you loser. The next time you try something like this, the moon's your next destination. She pulled her arm back that held 𝗵𝗄 before screaming. Now go to hell. Using her quirk, the ash blonde sent 𝗵𝗄 flying into the air until he was no longer visible again. That may have been overkill, Kacchan. It's whatever. Katsumi walked into the school with Izuku following suit. Wait up. Ochako was running towards them for the duo to notice her. Nice job, you two. You were so awesome back there. Thanks. Izuku felt a bit of modesty as Katsumi just scoffed. No we were awesome. You're looking at the next best of the best in the making. Ochako smiles at them before asking. So do you two want to hang out then sometime? I kinda think you two could be really cool to hang out around. Sure. I'd like that. Do whatever you want, round face. Let's go before we run out of daylight, Deku. The trio went back into the school to change and grab their stuff from the classroom before heading out to find out around the area and grab something to eat before heading to the station to head home. Izuku POV. The next day of school went relatively normal for any school. We had our normal classes of math, history, etc. When lunch ended though, our real classes for heroic starts. We were all sitting in our classroom waiting for our teacher to come in. I started to try and mess with my ink a little to make little ink figurines of people. I started first by making one of myself, then I got bored and began making some of my other classmates. When I got to 𝗵𝗄 though, Kacchan placed her hand on it to blow the ink figure up. Wish I could blow the real perv up, but the little copy is good enough for now. I looked behind to see the small man shaking in his boots at what he just saw. Not that I blame him for being scared, but the whole thing he did the first day kinda made him face this. I stopped when the door opened though for a similar voice to be heard. I am coming through the door like a hero. Everyone began to cheer as we were being taught by none other than All Might. The part that made it all the more cool was the fact he was wearing his Silver Age costume. So cool. We're literally seeing him in an icon of an outfit. I started to fanboy a bit as All Might started to speak. Heroics 101. The class that shall shame newbies like you all into the heroes of tomorrow. And today will be the day for you to test your mettle against one another. And it's because of that, today's lesson will be, All Might pulled a flashcard out saying what was on it. Battle training. And what hero would be complete without their hero costumes? He then pressed a button for 20 briefcases to come out of the wall with our seat numbers on them. Chong into these and meet me down at ground beta on the double. He charged out of the room with all of us practically running to the costumes, excited and ready for what was going to happen next. Finally a chance to try out Ink Maker and OFA in a fight with actual people. I'm so excited. On ground beta we walked out of the exit to begin standing in front of All Might wearing our costumes. Now you all look like real heroes. And I must say you all look super cool. Deku. 𝗬𝗪𝗏 ran up to me with stars in her eyes admiring my costume. You look so cool. It's like you're some kind of fancy guy. Why thank you. I smiled while pulling my necktie up before blushing at her. I should have been a bit more specific with mine. It's really tight. A bit of BLD came out of my nose before noticing my netta behind me. Gotta love this sh. Shut up, midget. 𝗬𝗁 came over to kick him out of the way for me to notice her gauntlets. But you actually agreed with my suggestion for condensing your sweat. Seemed like a good idea, so why the hell not? I kept looking over the gauntlets before seeing how the support workers that did her costume did the release mechanism for it. Now that we're all here, allow us to continue today's lesson. I stood back up to face All Might and listened to what he had to say. During the explanation, he said that today was a 2-on-2 battle training with one side being heroes and the other being villains. The goal was simple. Capture all the opposing team, let the timer run out if you're the villains, or touch the fake bomb as a way to disarm it to win. Both the teams and whose hero and villain were straightforward by the process of drawing lots. Personally though, I'd wish I wouldn't have to fight 𝗬𝗁 or 𝗬𝗪𝗏 mainly cause they're my friends. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Now the first match will be Team D Katsumi and Iida as the heroes facing Team Izuku and Ochako who are the villains. I glanced at 𝗬𝗁 uneasy about facing her. Just make sure you don't hold back. These were her words before me and 𝗬𝗪𝗏 were allowed to go inside. We were told the bomb was on the first floor and that it was a paper machete one that we could pick up with little problem. Okay, so we can place the bomb anywhere as long as it's inside the building. How about we put it on the 4th floor? I asked for 𝗬𝗪𝗏 to nod. I'm gonna make a few traps on this floor before following you upstairs. When I'm done, I'll make a few on the next and so on before getting to the 4th to make some on the floor above before finishing in the room the bomb's in. Sounds like a plan. We went our separate ways for some time as my gloves pulled the ink from my hands out. Perfect. And the side effect of the inside fabric of the gloves is keeping it more streamlined to control the ink. Get ready, 𝗬𝗁. This is gonna be a fun ride. RD person POV. As Izuku handled the traps inside the building, Iida decided to ask Katsumi a bit about Izuku's quirk. Bakugu, what can you tell me of Midoriya's quirk? It makes SHT out of the natural oils in his body in the form of ink. That's the best explanation I can give 4 eyes. Must you have a foul mouth? The ash blonde flipped him off before crumbling up the schematics. Just be careful or you'll end up the butt of a joke Deku might have doing. Hero team can enter. The two entered in to begin their search. Where should we try looking first? Sweep the lower levels and work up, or work on a certain level onwards? Iida asked for Katsumi to open the door to the stairs to see a stack of dynamite ready to blow. She immediately shuts the door for a loud explosion to happen and nearly take the door down. She opens the door up again to see the stairs are completely destroyed with a crude image of Katsumi painted on the wall with a scowl and her tongue sticking out. The F jackass. Is that supposed to be you dash? The angry blonde elbowed Iida in the ribs before continuing onto the next floor on her own. When you learn how to get up here, then we'll keep looking 4 eyes. Inside the bomb's room, Izuku was popping some popcorn he had in his pocket in a small makeshift machine he made while watching the events unfold on an ink screen. How are we even watching this? I hacked into the camera system here to hook it up to my ink-made monitor here. Popcorn. Ochako shrugs before eating a bit and watching. Oh, I love this trap I made in the room Iida's about to enter into. The two watched the monitor where Iida was about to open a door. Inside, he noticed a donkey with the words, "Jackass," written on it, but before it kicked him out of the room and into a wall. Aha! Both Izuku and 𝗬𝗧𝗄 started to laugh with the glasses-wearing teenager standing up regaining his composure. What was that? He began to open another door to see what looked like a shark swimming in the air before it noticed and began charging at him. Ah! He shut the door again before going a distance away to see a third door. Two of the ones I looked into were terrible. What are the chases? This one is worse. 𝗬𝗧𝗄 looked at her green-haired friend for him to smile. It gets worse. He opened the door to see what looked like a woman with her back towards Ida playing a violin. Well, this one isn't as bad. She stopped, however, to turn her head 180 degrees around to show a demonic face and roar at Ida. He quickly shut the door before shouting in fear. What the hell is wrong with this picture? While watching, Izuku and 𝗬𝗧𝗄 couldn't stop laughing at the fear in their classmates' eyes and reactions. I forget how hilarious classic cartoons were. Just mindless humor that you knew was fake. 𝗬𝗧𝗄 laughed through tears before Izuku noticed Katsumi opening a door on the third floor. Check this one out, you'll love this. Izuku got 𝗬𝗧𝗄 to stop laughing enough to watch as the door opened. Inside was a large amount of what looked like ink bubbles. Katsumi couldn't shut the door fast enough before they exploded and sent massive amounts of ink at her. Well, that was a little better than I thought. The ash blonde was cut mid-sentence while slipping on a banana peel that was inside the ink bubbles. She fell for the oldest trick in the book. Katsumi got up after to start walking towards another door. In that one, the ash blonde was hit in the face with several pies to fall over. You know, this would be a lot less annoying. She got up before taking all the ink pie off her face. If this wasn't 𝗵𝗃 in my mouth instead of the cream pie it looked like. She was hit one more time with a pie for both teenagers watching to laugh their asses off. That's it. Blowing up every door I come across. Katsumi walks towards a door to hold her hand out ready to blast the door off its hinges. I was hoping she'd start with that one. What's in it? You'll see. She blasted it away for nothing to be in the room besides a small box. The F. Katsumi opened the box to see a small frog inside it. The frog then got out of the box to stand on two legs and bring out a cane and top hat that came out of nowhere. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my right-hand gal. Baby, it's just gone wild. Baby, my heart's on fire. I remember that one. The two laughed as Katsumi just sighed knowing that Izuku was somewhere poking fun at her irritation. She continued to the next door to open it and see a silhouette of a woman in the shower screaming at her. The explosive teen shut the door quickly for a few moments to take one final peek inside to have the scream happen again. Izuku and 𝗬𝗧𝗄 were on the ground laughing at Katsumi doing the exact thing they were hoping she'd do in that situation, actually in pain from how much was happening. At this point, almost everyone in the monitor room who was watching was busting a gut with the ones that weren't on the verge of losing their ability to compose themselves. After a long travel upwards from the outside, Ida finally reunited with Katsumi on the third floor. What took you so long? 4 eyes. Breathe donkey. Monkeys in a barrel. Breathe giant nose. He collapsed on the floor from exhaustion, indicating that Izuku's tricks were getting the better of him. Guess we're both in the same boat. Deku's been F with my head here too. But in all honesty, he's probably useless if we find him. Right now, all he's doing is wasting our time. So what do you have in mind? Katsumi kicked Ida's side to get him to stand. Get your butt in gear, we're moving. They continued to the next door where Katsumi was debating whether she should blow the door down or open it. You know what, you open this one 4 eyes and I'll get the next. Ida stood in front of the door before opening it enough to look inside. Shen he did, he saw a giant punching glove sock him in the face to knock him out. You alive, 4 eyes. Katsumi began to poke Ida in the face to begin groaning. Yep, he's alive. She continued on knowing Ida wouldn't be able to do anything to the next floor. Here, she heard the sound of laughter to follow it directly to a room. This is the funniest thing I've seen in a long time. What can I say? This is the joy of old comedy. The two continued to laugh before the door was blown open by Katsumi. I finally got your wife, nerd. The two turned to her before pointing downwards. Unsure what the issue was, Katsumi looked down to see her feet stuck in something. The hell is this stuff? Tar. And I wouldn't use your explosions if you still want your feet attached. Izuku got up to grab what looked like a bowling ball from the side of them. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, Izuku goes for the strike. If he gets this, he wins the cup. He slowly walks a few steps forward before releasing the ball to grow monstrous proportions. 𝗬𝗧𝗵𝗲. She was rolled over by the ball to be stuck in the tar even more. Ugh. Strike. Izuku raised his hand up in the air with Ochako coming over to high-five him. Heroes are unable to continue. Villain team wins. Izuku smiles before glancing at the screen to see Ida still unconscious. Hey All Might, any chance you get a few medical bots to make sure Ida's still breathing? There was a silence before the pro nodded. Out of the four, only Izuku and Ochako could return to the monitor room. Here, they were briefed on their performance as well as explained where they could improve on before they entered into the next set of matches. Few hours later, Katsumi POV. Ow. Why does my head fall? Yeah, Deku hit me with that bowling ball. I began to wake up and see Round Face and Deku in the chairs beside me. The nerd was out cold, while Round Face was talking to Alice. I jumped up to spook both a bit and nearly wake Deku up. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, Izuku's asleep. 𝗵𝗃𝗲, you didn't tell me Deku could do something so cool as make friends like Alice. The two seemed to hit it off rather well for another blob to come out. This time, it was Bendy. So you're this 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗃𝗲 girl we're hearing about. Nice to meet ya. Bendy held his hand out for Round Face to shake it. Wait, when did this happen? I was trying to get up to speed as fast as I could with Alice explaining. Well, you see, I came out a little while ago to cover Izuku so the deer wouldn't catch a cold. While coming out though, 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗃𝗲 came in and saw me. She was about to freak before I calmed her down to say what I am. This helped avoid some issues with Izuku finding out we're able to come out freely as well as I made myself a friend. The two seemed happy before I asked a serious question. What did Alice tell you about Deku's quirk? Just that he can make self-aware beings but chooses not to because of a personal problem a few years back. She said it wasn't good to jump into the topic and that they shouldn't even be outside Deku since he refuses to use that aspect. Either way, I really like Alice as a friend and think she's very cool. Alice smiled before Deku started to wake up a bit. This was their indication that they had to leave. When they did, Deku glances over at us sorta dazed. Hey Kacchan. Good to see you're up again. He turned his head to see Round Face smiling at him. He jumped back panicking before standing straight up. Sorry for falling asleep. I hope you two weren't waiting long. Round Face smiled while I got up to grab my things and changed. Nope, I honestly just came in. While heading into the changing room, Bendy started to communicate with me. That girl really likes Izuku. You might have competition for him, Katsumi. The nerd can do what he wants. I walk out of the room and begin heading to get my stuff from the classroom. Unfortunately, Bendy's words kept going though my head. Damn it. I'm not in love with the Ochako POV. After the school day ended yesterday, 𝗵𝗃𝗲 had asked me to hang out tomorrow with her. I didn't know why, but she seemed to not take no for an answer no matter what. I'm heading out. Have fun, sweetie. Mom said this to me while yawning from a long shift at work the night before. I headed out with everything I could think in my pockets before walking down the stairs. Keys, wallet, ID. I think that's everything. I made my way down the steps before getting a call from someone. Finally you answer. What the hell have you been doing, Round Face? I was taking a bath, mind you. Most of us try to at least bathe more than once a week. Are you saying I smell? 𝗵𝗃𝗲 kept screaming in my ear for me to roll my eyes a bit. Look, can you at least not make an argument with me so early in the morning? I have people looking at me weird because I have you 5 feet away from my ear while speaking to you. Fine. I put the phone closer to my ear while she continues to talk. So why exactly did you want to hang out today? I need to let you know some things before going forward about Deku and the you-know-who. You mean Alice and Bendy? I'm in the same house as Deku. You want him to know these things are popping out of him while he isn't aware. And just like that, all hearing in my right ear's gone. I moved the phone to my other ear as my eardrum fixes itself from the shout. I'll explain everything to you when we're away from prying ears that this would make a problem to hear. Alright. Text me the directions and I'll head there. Why don't I just give you an address and you can look it up on your phone? I paused a minute when answering. Can't do that with my phone. I don't have GPS or whatever is used to do that on it. What the hell kind of shitty phone do you have, a flip? I stayed silent to make her realize that was what I had. Alright. If you're coming from the station, I'll text you the directions. Alright. I'll see you later. Katsumi POV. I got off the phone with round face and began to put on a pair of black slacks and a skull shirt with a jacket. When I was done, I noticed Deku and the hag heading out. Heading out? Yeah. Aunt Mitsuki said that there was a deal at the store today that she wanted to get as much as she could. I enlisted Izuku's help so I can carry more. Wanna tag along? I've got my own life to live, ya old hag. She immediately struck me over the head. Quit calling me a hag, ya brat. Quit calling me a brat, ya hag. We began arguing before Deku lifted the hag off the ground to start walking out. If we don't head out now, we'll miss out on some of the nicer things you wanted to get at the store. You can fight with Kacchan later. You're lucky Izuku's such a nice kid, or I'd kick your butt down to the store and force you to help me. F you. I already had something to do today where I couldn't even help you if I wanted. Then why the F didn't you say that in the beginning? We kept arguing until Deku carried the hag down the street far enough where all we could hear is shouts from each other. DMN hag. Who does she think she is trying to tell me what to do? You know, you really should be nicer to your ma Katsumi. Don't you start with this, Bendy. I looked up at the bow tie before walking to the kitchen to grab a muffin before heading out. On the way, I sent round face the directions to the plaza we were meeting at to start waiting. She replied that she'd be there in about 20 minutes with me, heading to a vending machine to get a can of iced coffee when I arrived. I sat in the center for a while remembering just how I got here today. The day before, oi round face. You and me are going to hang out tomorrow. I tossed her my contact info for her to confusingly put it in her pocket. But what? Just because, damn it. Now put the info in your phone and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Both Deku and Roundface looked at me still completely clueless before I gave a sigh. Just don't worry about it. Think of it as a girl talk. I don't know what to call it. But Kacchan, you hate talking about girl stuff and would rather dash. Shut up, nerd, and don't question my motives. Back to present, yeah. That could have gone better. I sat down for a few minutes before I noticed Roundface come over wearing a zip-up pink hoodie and some crappy-looking sweats. Sorry. Breathe. I came here as fast as I could. She was out of breath while holding some cheap but flip phone in her hand. Why the F do you look like you came from a thrift shop? Don't judge me. She seemed rather defensive for me to ignore it. So what are we doing here? Just a chat. A good old-fashioned chick talk. Weird, 'cause you don't at me as the dash. You finish that sentence, I'm blasting you to the moon, Roundface. She shut her mouth before I lead her through the plaza. She seemed to find it really cool for some reason. Ever been here before? And not really. I don't really go out and about all that often when I don't have to. So you're a shut-in. That's not it. It's She had difficulty saying it before I put the pieces together. She had a cheap phone, shitty clothes, and she doesn't head out that often. Your family's broke, isn't it? Well, not broke per se. We just can't spend money on big things and stuff that's kinda new. To be honest, flip phones is probably the oldest cell phone you've got. That one also looked like one of those 3,000 yen ones, almost $30. So you literally pinch every penny you got. That sucks. I wouldn't say it sucks, in a way. I just need to be more careful what I spend money on so I know I eat enough during the week. Her stomach growled at this for me to stare at her. Sorry. Sai, come with me. I started walking for Roundface to stop. Where? Just follow me, damn it. We kept walking until we got to a small family diner outside the shopping area. Me and Deku normally hang out here when I want something good after we train. Personally, I'm a fan of their curry bowl with a little extra habanero peppers in it. A waitress brought us to a table where she gave us menus. Pick something to eat. Round face still looked at me confused as I explained. I'll pick up the tab, just pick a DMN thing to eat. B, but you don't have to dash. You make me say this one more time, I'm going to stuff that menu so far up your butt that dash, okay? You don't need to give a mental image for the people in the restaurant. She picked the cheapest brunch item on the menu with me grabbing a sandwich with jalapenos in it for some spice. While we waited, Round face looked at me confused. So why exactly did you call me here? It's about Deku's quirk. Do you know how Alice said he can make self-aware sentient beings? She nodded before I continued. Well, these things for the most part, he can make a baseline and they become their own people. But even if they are completely disobedient to Deku, they're still connected to his emotions and him to forcefully obey a command. So they can feel happy when he is and feel sad when he is. Not exactly. If Deku feels some extreme emotion such as anger or grief, these beings react in ways that are well monstrous in nature. I felt horrible remembering what happened when we were kids, but she's already met Alice and Bendy. If she finds out now, I might be able to keep Round face from asking something bad to Deku's face. When we were little, me and Deku walked into a robbery gone wrong at his mom's house. We found the robber stabbed his mom and pointed his knife at us. In a state of blind grief and hatred, Bendy, Alice, and a fox friend of ours, Boris, turned into monsters. Their faces distorted from all the negative emotions inside them and became nightmares of what they were. They then went after the robber and killed the 𝗵𝗃𝗃 like it was nothing. After, Deku saw what happened to fall into shock what happened. In that fear and anger, he told the three to never come out again. As his quirk, they had to obey a direct order from him and have never pulled themselves out ever since. I pulled the bow tie out of my hair to show it in front of Round face. This bow tie I got from Bendy a few months after all this happened. I found Bendy outside Deku watching over him while he slept. He explained to me that the three of them felt absolute regret doing what they did to scare us but didn't do it on purpose. He then asked me to help Deku be able to get back on the right track. This bow tie allows me to talk to Bendy directly through a telepathic link. Here you two go. The woman gave us our food with me putting the bow tie back in my hair. Two didn't know. I'm sorry you two had to see that. Not your fault. To be honest, Deku held back his quirk for years and only recently started using it again. He's heading where he should, but he's nowhere near ready to start bringing his friends back out again. So why tell me this? She asked while eating the eggs and bacon on her plate. 'Cause you're trying to get with Deku and I'm worried you'd say some stupid SHT during this. There was a silence before Round face spat her food at me. It's not like that. I only liked you as a friend. Could you have said that without spitting egg at me? Well, you said a crazy comment. So spitting food in my face was the answer. I stopped shouting when I saw everyone looking at us starting to question what we're doing. I sat down and pulled the food off my face with a paper towel. Look, I only brought you here so you know what you shouldn't say or talk about to Deku to keep him from getting hurt again. He's been hurt enough as it is and at least deserves some peace in his life. Wait, so does that mean you're not dating Deku? I stopped a minute with my face going red. What the F are you rambling about, Round face? I don't like Deku. He's a little nerd that doesn't know when to shut up. Can you stop calling me Round face? My name is 𝗬𝗃𝗃. People kept staring at us for me to facepalm myself. Whatever. So why do you think I like Deku? She ate a piece of bacon before answering. We hang out with him a lot. You take his feelings into consideration. I also see how he acts kindly around you even though I think you should tone your attitude down a bit. Oh yeah, you also blush a bit when he does something cool or accidentally touch him. That means nothing. I blush when any guy touches my hand. She stared at me not convinced before I let a sigh out. Okay, maybe I think a bit more of Deku than I should. But that doesn't mean I like the nerd. If you're giving that as your answer, then stop saying I like Deku. Then why the F do you cling so close to him like you're his shadow? She went pink at this before answering. And maybe I do that a bit too much, but it's just 'cause I think he's amazing. So do I, but I don't stick to him like glue. Excuse me you too, but could you keep your love triangle down? You're disrupting the guests who are dining. We looked over to see the people eating still staring at us. I began eating my sandwich and finished it alongside 𝗬𝗧𝗏 before we walked out. There, we decided to head towards a cheap clothing store where we continued our talk. So let me ask you, do you have better clothes than that, or are they kinda the average we're working with for you? I have a few nicer clothes at home, but I only wear them on special occasions. So for the most part, you dress like a bum. I don't dress like a bum. My mom and daddy say I make hand-me-downs look good. They probably said that to make you feel better about them. I grabbed a few shirts and pants that looked her size and wasn't that pricey before tossing them to 𝗬𝗧𝗏 and shoving her into a changing booth. Try those. 𝗵𝘃𝗲, you really don't dash. If someone like you dates Deku looking like that, it'll piss me off. So change, damn it. She stopped arguing for me to eat her putting the clothes on inside. Few minutes later, she came out with a pink skull shirt and black jeans on. I really don't think this is my style if we're being honest here. Looks fine to me. Try the other things. After an hour of doing this, 𝗬𝗧𝗏 got a couple of nicer clothes where she doesn't look like gutter trash anymore with me paying for the stuff. As we walked back to the station, she began asking me a question. So why did you pay for everything? So you don't pay for 𝗧𝗏𝗃 to impress the nerd and get nowhere. I don't like Deku dash. Yeah. Anyway, the cash was a lame gift my old man gave. He put it on a gift card to a cheap clothing store to maybe get me more girly with it failing. Card was gonna go to waste anyway. She understood this while we waited for the train. Hey 𝗵𝘃𝗲. If this is another apology about me paying for everything, I'm gonna blast your butt into space. That's not it. I looked over to see her head down a bit. If I did say I sorta liked Deku, would it hurt you if we dated? I stopped for a moment to see the image of Deku and 𝗬𝗧𝗏 being together to feel a bit of sadness for some reason. You're ducking lives. What the hell do I have to do with them? The train came for 𝗬𝗧𝗏 to get on before leaving for home. She smiled and waved goodbye before the doors to shut for me to think of her words. If Deku does date 𝗬𝗧𝗏, how will I feel about that? Izuku POV. After the weekend ended, class began back as what it normally would. I began sitting down in my seat and began messing with my powers a bit to try and form some kinds of things. I started with similar faces of people I knew such as Aunt Mitsuki and Uncle Masu. I eventually got bored and started doing some of our classmates. When it came to Katsumi and 𝗬𝗧𝗏, I started to blush a bit realizing I was trying to make sure the physical aspects were right. Yo Deku, what ya doing? I immediately dropped the form I was doing to make something out of subconscious memory out of fear to see Katsumi looking at me. And nothing. She glanced over to seem a little surprised. I noticed it down near where she was to see an image of Mom in the ink. I couldn't look at it and began returning it to the shapeless ink inside my body. What was that you were making, Midoriya? 𝗬𝗏 asked for me to sigh and try to make something up. It's not important. Mr. Aizawa came in not long after for everyone to point their attention to him. Good morning, class. So I went over the results of your battle training. For the most part, nicely done. There's spots some of you could improve on, but that's normal for this early in your time here. Midoriya. Yaoyorozu. Nicely done on your parts, however. Both of you held yourselves rather soundly. Not an easy feat now onto matters of today. You all will be handling something that will change the course of your life here. Everyone held their breath, thinking it was something regarding around the first day when we were told that one of us would be expelled. You need to pick out a class rep and vice rep. Everyone immediately started to cheer with all the class started to speak up and ask for them to be the class rep. It was only stopped when Ida spoke up. Everyone calm down. We shall decide this through a vote. Where the F do you think this is gonna go? 4 eyes. Katsumi. Be nice. 𝗵𝘃𝗲's got a point though, we're all just gonna vote for ourselves. We hardly know each other. Ishido pointed this out for Ida to explain. Most of us will. However, those who will have already shown leadership will most likely have shown the material to make people vote for someone else. Those votes will prove to be worth it. Everyone agreed to this with Mr. Aizawa agreeing for the most part. Well, he just said to not make noise so that he can sleep in his sleeping bag. Everyone wrote the name they wanted on the slip. When we finished, we counted the votes for me to have 3. Wait, how did I get 3 votes? I didn't even vote for me. I saw Katsumi and 𝗬𝗧𝗏 whistle and look away from me to get 2 of the 3. I wonder who gave the 3rd. Alright. Midoriya and Yaoyorozu are the class rep and vice rep. Now back to business. During lunch I began sitting down in a group of Ida, 𝗬𝗧𝗏, and Katsumi around. So why did you 2 vote for me? You honestly think you're not worth the vote or too good for me? No. I was just curious since well I don't think I'm worth it. That is where I think differently Midoriya. You kept yourself calm and calculated during the entire first hero training and had taken us down almost single-handed. That's at least why I gave you my vote. I felt a bit of embarrassment from this as 𝗬𝗧𝗏 spoke up. To be honest, I think you're super cool as well, Deku. 𝗬𝗧𝗏 smiled at me with my face starting to go a little red. I don't think I deserve this in all honesty, but I'll try what I can. Everyone smiled while I realized something. Hey Ida. By any chance, do you have any relation to the turbo hero Ingenium? I guess it's understanding how you'd ask that. You see, he's my older brother. My whole family has been pros for as long as the mantle has been around. And as them, I wish to join them. I started to smile knowing just how deep Ida's roots went and happy that he had a lot of drive. Immediately after, an alarm rang with several people running out of the room. What the hell is that? Ida tried to ask a 3rd year that was running. What is going on? It's a code 3 alarm. That means someone was able to breach and get on school grounds. It's never happened once in years. Everyone started running out to see it was a madhouse. Students pushing one another. To get somewhere safe. Hey, where the hell do you think you're touching? Katsumi started shouting with me and Ida getting pushed to the window. Midoriya. Look outside. He stated this for me to see that the threat was just the media. We must pass this on to everyone. On it. I created a bullhorn in my hand out of ink before setting it off. Beep everyone. It's just the media. The pros are handling it, so there's no reason to panic. You don't need to freak out and just rely on Mr. Aizawa and present Mike handling it. Everyone seemed to calm down at this to head back to the classes. We followed suit to sit down and wait for our teacher to come in to tell us what we're doing for the next part of the day. Today we will be going off campus for the lesson we are to do today. There, myself, All Might, and a 3rd person will be helping teach you rescue training. Mr. Aizawa said this while holding a card up to show what we were doing. The apprehension test you did on the first day was for you all to see the difference in basic physical tests you were taking in middle school. The battle training was for you all to see just how dangerous your quirks are against other people. This training will be used to help you all know just what you should do with them. Help people. He pressed a button for our hero costumes to come out of the wall. Use your gym uniform or your hero costume. If I were you, however, getting used to your hero costume would be the better option. Change and meet me outside by the buses in 5 minutes. I went to grab my uniform before heading into the changing room to put my costume on. While doing so, Kirishima started a conversation with me. So Midoriya, what's the deal with Bakugo and 𝗬𝗧𝗏? What do you mean? I mean you 3 seem really close. Is there anything happening? I pulled my tie up before explaining. Me and Katsumi are childhood friends and I've been living with her family since I was about 5 cause of an accident that happened to my mom. 𝗬𝗧𝗏 is just a good friend. I'm sorry man. I didn't know. I smiled at him while walking out. It's not your fault. You didn't know and was just curious. Nothing's wrong with that. On the bus after some discussion with Ida who wanted to have everyone sit on the bus in seat order, I talked to Yaoyorozu who didn't seem to have a problem with it. The only problem we had was it wasn't that type of bus where this wasn't a problem. In the end, I found myself sitting next to Kirishima and Tsu, while Katsumi was sitting next to Jairu and 𝗬𝗧𝗏 was next to Yaoyorozu. So Midoriya, what exactly can your quirk do? Tsu asked me for everyone to listen up. Well, my quirk is called Ink Maker. It's a special quirk that allows me to make next to anything. So like mine? Yaoyorozu asked for me to explain. Yes, but all I need to do is know and have a solid understanding of what I'm making. Interesting. So you don't need to know exactly how something is made. No. All I need to know is just what the item looks like and how it works if it's something special like some kind of weapon of some sorts. But the limit to this is that my own natural oil is used for this. But even if I make something, it's still ink. Everyone was amazed with Kirishima speaking up. So that old comment about the pen and the sword is the real deal with you. Kinda awesome. There's more to my quirk though. One of which is something I'd rather not say. I held my head down remembering Bendy and the gang and what happened when I was little. That dark image, no matter how much I try, will never come out of my head. Still, your quirk is really awesome, bro. Not like mine. Kirishima explained while hardening his arm. All I can do is this. Not really flashy. Honestly, I think any quirk can be flashy if you have enough skill with it. I mean, look at 𝗲𝗵𝗃𝗍𝗵. It's literally something revolving around some kind of strength enhancer, yet everyone loves him. It all depends on the way you use the quirk, not how flashy it is. Trust me, I didn't use my quirk for years because of something. It's not worth putting yourself down over it. At that moment, Kirishima's eyes widened and had stars in them. You're just like me, bro. He held my head in a headlock while laughing. If you ever have a problem, bro, you can come and count on me for help. The bus soon stopped for Mr. Izuku to stand up. We're here. Get off. As we got off the bus, everyone stood in line to see the Space Hero 13 in front of us. As we got off the bus, everyone stood in line to see the Space Hero 13 in front of us. Welcome to. My name is 13 and I'll be helping you all with today's lesson. Whoa. 13's one of my favorite heroes. 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗧 seemed really excited for me to smile a bit. Now today we will be training with saving civilians from natural disasters. Mr. Izuku walked up to the space hero to start speaking under their breath. I didn't catch much, but I heard key bits such as all might and max time. I got the hint when 13 put up 3 fingers. He must have gone over his time limit. Anyway, as I was saying, natural disasters are done in a number of ways and it's not easy to know when they'll happen. During this, it's even more important for heroes to stay somewhat calm and collective since every decision counts. This will also help you all understand what you can do with your quirks to help in these situations. Take my quirk for example. My quirk Black Hole has been used to save countless people over my time as a pro. However, it can easily be used to take a life. That is why you all are here. To learn how to use your quirks effectively in this state-of-the-art facility I had made. I call it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, more commonly known as the USJ. We all stopped a moment when we heard this to think of Universal Studios of Japan with the abbreviation for the name. As we walked inside, everyone was amazed at what we saw. Almost any natural disaster we could think of and would most likely face was here. Everything from floods to landslides. Now that we're inside, allow us to explain how this will war dash. 13 stopped mid-sentence when the power started to flicker. Okay, who didn't pay the electric bill? A portal opened in the middle of the plaza with a man having several hands covering him getting out of it. Who didn't pay the electric bill? A portal opened in the middle of the plaza with a man having several hands covering him getting out of it. As he walked out, several other people came out standing beside him with the portal turning into a man of mist. We are the League of Villains. We've come here to kill all might. They even have fake villains. Are you that oblivious? Those are real villains, Kirishima. 13. Protect the kids. Izuku jumped down immediately to take on the large amount of villains for me to turn to Ida. Ida, get out of here and get help. But what about all of you? Things are going to get worse if we don't do something fast. Now run. He ran to the door with the mist man blocking the way. Hello. We are the League of Villains. We've come here to kill all might, but he doesn't seem to be here. Might there have been a change in the schedule? Back off, Mist Man. Katsumi and Kirishima came at the man with him turning to mist and enveloping us all in it. Disperse. RD person POV. Izuku found himself entering into darkness before falling down near a pool. Holy CRP. In an effort to try and make the landing easier, he created an umbrella out of ink to float gently down near the single ship in the area. Well, that wasn't so bad. The green-haired boy's thought was cut short when the sound of something coming on spooked him. I don't know what you're into for meat, but ink chum is bad for your health. Good to know, Ribbit. Tsu came aboard the ship with Mineta in her tongue for Izuku to calm down a bit. You gave me a scare there, Tsu. Sorry about that. So what do you think's happening? Izuku looked around while leaning over the side to see a bunch of fish villains or villains with water-based quirks in the water. He also looked around to see they weren't in unfamiliar territory. My guess is the villains separated us among the disaster zones. There, they had villains with specified quirks there waiting for us. The green-haired boy kept thinking with trying to avoid the water. Ink and water really don't mix well. Then I guess it was luck they put me in here ribbit. Sue's comment made sense for him to look at 𝗵𝗃𝗧. You can pull those things on your head off, right? Yeah. What exactly happens when you do this? For the most part nothing. They just stick to whatever they touch. 𝗵𝗃𝗧 pulled one off and stuck it to the ship to explain. Depending on how my health is, they can stick to whatever they do all day. I'm also the only one that can't get stuck, and I'm also able to move them. Any chance you can throw them overboard? At the villains preferably. 𝗵𝗃𝗧 did this for some reason with Izuku's theory coming out to be true. They're avoiding them. That proves my theory. They don't know our quirks. If they did, they wouldn't have had Sue here. Instead, they would have put her in the wildfire zone. That would have worked. But how does that help us now? I don't care. I'm staying right here until All Might comes to beat these bad guys. 𝗵𝗃𝗧 stated this for one of the villains to slice the boat in half. There goes that plan. Sue, jump as far as you can. I'll be with you shortly. Sue jumped off the boat into the air with 𝗵𝗃𝗧 holding onto her. Meanwhile, Izuku jumped into the air and coated his fingers with ink as a form of an insulator. Smash! He sent a shockwave into the water to cause a whirlpool and keep the villains inside. He then used his umbrella he made as well as a small fan for him to float near the shoreline with Sue and 𝗵𝗃𝗧. When they got to the center again, they saw their teacher beaten bloodied on the ground under a villain that looked like his brain was on full display. Mr. Aizawa. Izuku tried to stay back with the man of mist coming towards the man with hands on him. My apologies Shigaraki, but one of the students escaped. They're probably going to warn the school now. So Ida or someone got out. That's good. The man now known as Shigaraki began scratching his neck to the point it sounded like he was going to rip the skin. Kurojiiri. If you weren't so important, I'd have killed you right now. Now we have a game over. I guess we'll have to leave. The group silently cheered with 𝗵𝗃𝗧 attempting to cop a feel of Sue to be almost drowned underwater. This is too easy. They come in to say they're here to kill All Might and they leave now. Something's off. Izuku noticed Shigaraki charge at them with a voice in Izuku's head yelling at him. Izuku! Don't let that hand guy touch her. He didn't know where it came from, but an image played in his head for some reason of Aizawa's arm being decayed for Izuku to realize that if the villain's hands touched one of them, they'd die. No, not again. Izuku's emotions returned to the day he lost his mother with him having a small panic attack. No. I won't let you hurt my friends. His voice became dark and twisted for the giant monster to get in Izuku's way. Stay out of this. Two creatures came out of Izuku at that moment. One came at the monster and the second coming out to hold Shigaraki's wrist and smile at him. What is this thing? It spoke not a word, but Izuku knew what the monster was. Needless to say, his nightmare had come back to haunt him after all these years.